Today is day one of my 30-day challenge to myself to live stream every day. Now, I'm a little bit early because I'm not going to talk about the actual topic that we're going to discuss today until 11 a.m. And the reason I'm a couple of minutes early is just to make sure that the tech's working. So I'll see you at 11. Okay, so today we're going to talk about why so many coaching businesses fail to thrive. We have a real problem in our profession, and the problem is that we train brilliant coaches who put time, effort, energy, and money into learning how to be brilliant coaches. But then when they finish their coaching qualification or their credential, there's like a cliff edge that they fall off that goes, well, how do I translate my qualification into an income? And that gap is massively wide. Now, there is a statistic that I believe originated with the ICF that says that 82% of coaching businesses fail in their first 2 years. I first came across that statistic in 2017. I've seen it quoted all over the place since. Now, 82% is a massive number. You know, if we think about the cohort that we trained with and think about the faces in that room, virtual or in real life, more than 4 out of 5 of them won't go on to become coaches. Why? Why do we have such a huge failure rate? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about for the next 10 minutes or so. Coach training schools are really, really, really good at teaching us to be fantastic coaches. I have yet to come across a coach training school that does as good a job at teaching coaches how to build coaching businesses. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist. What I'm saying is I haven't come across them. I have seen lots of stuff that our clients have shown us from their coach training provider where they've said, well, this is what I learned, and it's very light touch, or it's kind of a bolt on that's been added afterwards, or it's just plain wrong. And that's a problem. Personally, I wish coach training companies would stay in their lane and continue to do the brilliant work that they do, teaching people how to become coaches, and then signpost them to reputable, accredited businesses, training organizations that teach coaches how to build businesses. Let's have a look at why it happens in the first place. Every single business, no matter whether they sell a product or a service, has to have a client acquisition process. It doesn't matter who they are without a client acquisition process. Therefore, they don't have clients or customers. They're not a business. A business has to have clients. And for it to be a business and not a hobby, they need to be clients who pay. And for us as coaches, they need to be clients who pay a professional rate. Now, the reason that I'm saying that isn't because I don't think that people who can't pay a professional rate for coaching don't deserve coaching, because I believe everybody deserves to be coached. The reason that I'm saying it is you cannot build a financially viable business coaching people who can't afford to pay or who pay mates rates. You'll run out of oomph long before you ever generate enough income to be able to live on it. So, why is it happening? If we imagine that our business was a set of weighing scales, like old-fashioned weighing scales, on these two sides of the weighing scales represent the two different skill sets that every single business needs to have. So on this side, we have our delivery skills, and that's where all of our client-facing skills sit. So our coaching qualifications and accreditations and credentials, any practitioner certificates we've got, or facilitation certificates, or any of the other tools that we have learned that we can kind of whip out of our toolbox when we're sitting in front of the client and delivering our service. They are our delivery tools, and they sit on this side of our weighing scale. These are not client acquisition tools. On this side of our weighing scale, and the other 50% of the skills that we need are client acquisition skills. These are the skills that create the opportunities to do that delivery. And this is where coaches are sadly lacking in skill. Now, client acquisition skills are predominantly marketing and sales. And as a profession, we have a very odd view about marketing and selling. And that view weirdly seems to be embedded in the kind of secondhand car salesman or timeshare kind of hard push selling that happened in the 80s and 90s and bears no resemblance to marketing and selling as a professional skill in the 2020s. One of the reasons that we have this dim view of marketing is we believe it's not ethical or it's inauthentic, neither of which is true if you're doing it properly. And the other place that we get stuck is that we don't believe we can sell. Now, number one, selling isn't about persuading people to buy something that they don't need. That's not what selling is. Selling is providing a solution to a problem that our potential client already knows they have. Now, the other thing that's important to bear in mind is that if you do your marketing properly, it does the heavy lifting of the selling for you, so that by the time somebody ends up in your diary for a conversation with you, they know who you are, they know what you do, they know you do it for people like them, and they know what it costs. So there's no ambush with a price that's way higher than they anticipated. And the reason, because they have that knowledge, the reason that they are in your diary, the reason they wanted to book an appointment with you at all is because they recognize themselves and the problem they're grappling with in your marketing. And now they want to meet you and make sure that you really are the person that they've come to know through the content that you've shared, which of course you are, because you created the content and you created it from your own knowledge and experience. Now, if 82% of people of coaches are failing, that means that 18% are not. So what are they doing that the 82% are not doing? Well, if 18%, it breaks down into, some of them will be internal coaches. So they've done their they've done their coach training and then gone back to work as an internal coach. Some of them will be coaches who get all of their work via associate companies. So basically they're coaching other people's clients and being paid for it. Some of that will be with private companies, small associate companies, and some of that will be with the platforms, BetterUp, Lyra, Ezra, Coach Hub, etc. But that's associate work. And the third kind are the coaches who've gone out and found their own clients and they've done it really easily. So what are they doing that the rest of us aren't? What they have, which the rest of us do not, is monetizable credibility. Now, what do I mean by that? Those few coaches, in terms of percentage, already have a network of people who know, like, and trust them. And those people are the network that they've built up, usually over a stellar corporate career. And so once they've done their coach training, they can go back to their network, basically open their little black book and say, hey, would you like to have a coffee? I'm now a coach. And the people that they're talking to, who tend to be the upper echelons of corporate, that's who their network consists of, already know what our kind of coaching is, which the vast majority of the population does not. They already know, like, and trust the coach, and they are in a position to commission coaching either for themselves or for their team at corporate rates. Now, for the coach with monetizable credibility, first and foremost, I'm not saying they don't work hard. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is they have a privilege which they usually don't recognize. They are starting from a different place than the majority. So the privilege that they have gives them access to these upper echelons and these potential coaching contracts that the rest of us don't have. Now, our coach training organizations, and also a very famous book that talks about how to build a coaching business, says that all you need to do is have good conversations. Now, this coach with monetizable credibility goes out and has good conversations and comes back and said, well, I just had a good conversation, and now I've got a 40, 50, 60,000 pound coaching contract out of it. And our coach training organizations can, not every single one, by the way, but they hold them up as an example of, you see, you just need to go and have good conversations. Now, that doesn't work for those of us who don't have that network or that little black book. So what do we do? And what's so special about the 2 years? So when I first heard the statistic that 82% of coaching businesses fail in the first 2 years, what I imagined was happening was that everything was going swimmingly, and then it all fell to bits like a Jenga tower around the 23, 24-month mark. And I could not get my head around why that was happening. What was so significant about the 2-year mark? And it turns out it's nothing to do with everything going swimmingly and then it all falling apart. The truth about the 2-year mark is that's as long as we can sustain trying everything we can think of everything we can think of to find paying clients before we run out of time, energy, momentum, and potentially money. And we just say, do you know what? The coaching profession's saturated. This isn't going to work and I'm out of here. And that's a real shame because it isn't saturated. Let me explain what I mean by it not being saturated. There are an awful lot more coaches now than there were before the pandemic. I think there was something like a 70+% uplift in the number of people who took the opportunity of the downtime to train as coaches. And I believe the figure is more than 120,000 now, and that's just from the ICF. So all the other accrediting bodies and all the other training organizations who are not affiliated with the ICF, there's more there as well. So there are a lot of coaches. Now, I don't believe that the market can be saturated until everybody who can benefit from coaching has benefited from coaching. And clearly that's not the case. So what's going on? One of the problems that we have as coaches that other professional service providers do not have is that nobody knows what we do, but they think they know and they're wrong. That's actually a massive barrier to our success. So let me kind of explain how that's come about. Back when Thomas Leonard first came up with this thing that he was doing and he didn't have a word for, my version of what happened, this could be completely wrong, but this is kind of how I imagine it happened, is that he was trying to figure out how to describe this thing that he developed to help his financial services client. And he kind of said, it's like sports coaching, but for your life, it's life coaching. So he borrowed a word that had an existing meaning to shortcut people's understanding. Now, if we roll on to 2026, coaching has developed and matured enormously since then, but we still have the word coach as our job title. Now, the problem with that word is that people already know what it means. It means somebody who is going to share their knowledge and experience with you to help you improve in a specific area. Sports coach, horse riding coach, driving coach. Apparently, some people call driving instructors driving coaches. And that's not what we do. And so if somebody says, "What do you do?" and you say, "Oh, I'm a coach," then the response is often, "Well, what do you coach on?" And, "Oh, no, 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 not that kind of coach." "Oh, really? What kind of coach?" And then we disappear down a rabbit hole of trying to describe our coaching process and help the person that we're talking to understand how different it is from a transfer of knowledge and experience. And they're not interested. You must have had that conversation where people are just not interested. And it's so frustrating because we have a superpower that can transform somebody's life. And we can't help them to understand that we can do that for them. It's really frustrating. Now, if I go back to what I said about other providers of professional services, people know what they do. So, doctor, architect, psychotherapist, counselor, I could go on, physiotherapist, I can go on to lots and lots of different professional services providers, healthcare providers, etc. Everybody knows what they do. Now, what that means is they know when they need the help of one of those people. They have a problem, they know what the problem is, and they know where to go to find a solution. Now, with coaching, that's not true. Again, yes, there are upper echelons of corporate who do know, but the majority do not know. They have no idea that we can help them navigate transitions. They have no idea we can help them become unstuck. They have no idea that we can help them if they're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, or that they're navigating things that are really difficult, or that they're working in a toxic workplace and they don't know what to do, or that they've got health problems that require some sort of personal changes that they're struggling to implement. They don't know we can help with that, and so they are not looking for us. And when I say to coaches, "Who's your main competition?" and they tell me other coaches, that's not true. Our main competition is self-help books or podcasts or YouTube channels. It's lots of places where people are going to find a solution to the problem that they've got that's keeping them awake at night, that coaching can resolve, because they don't know to go and find a coach. They just don't know. Now, our job as coaches is to educate people about what coaching can help with. And so what we then do is we say, "Well, I can help anybody who's got goals to reach or limiting beliefs they need to overcome, or if they're stuck, or if they're working through transition." And the problem with that kind of generic, "Let me explain all the different things that coaching can do," is that nobody cares and nobody can hear us. What do I mean by that? We are highly intelligent people. I've never met a thick coach. And the problem with being highly intelligent, honestly, I think it's really the only problem with being highly intelligent, is we think we can work things out on our own. We have spent a lifetime winging it, and things working when we do wing it. And we're now, we've read a Seth Godin book, maybe we've read the Donald Miller story brand book. So we've read coaching books and we're trying to implement what we've read, and it's just not working. And instead of us thinking, that's because I don't know what I'm doing, we think we do know what we're doing because we've read a book. And so we cast our nets wide and we talk to as many people as possible, and we go to every networking event we can. And we do that for 2 years until we go, "This doesn't work." And we go back to what we were doing before. We decide the coaching profession is saturated and we walk away. Marketing and sales are professional skills. Client acquisition is a professional skill. And it's one that most people have no idea how it works. We think we should be casting our nets wide, when in actual fact, if it isn't tightly focused, it isn't marketing at all. It's just talking or posting, if we're talking about posting on social media. For it to be marketing, it needs to be very, very tightly focused on a particular target audience with a particular problem. Now, I know that coaches really resist the idea of niching, which is choosing a target audience with a particular problem. And we resist that because, look, there are 8 billion people in the world and they can all benefit from working with us. And so we feel reluctant to focus because think of all of the opportunities we'll be missing out on if we do that. Hard truth time. The opportunities that you think you're going to be missing out on are theoretical. Because if they truly existed, they would be there already, wouldn't they? Today's the 14th of March. Tomorrow's the 15th of March and Mother's Day. I will not be live streaming at 11 o'clock because it's Mother's Day and my daughters are coming for the day. I'll be back again on Monday. And on Monday, I'm going to talk about how to choose a niche and what happens when you do. In the meantime, if this is making you prick up your ears and feel interested, I'm running a webinar on Thursday evening, the 19th of March. It costs £49. It's a 90-minute webinar. It's called A Coaching Business in a Webinar. You will get a PDF copy of my book, A Coaching Business in a Book, to go alongside the webinar. And we're going to spend probably 30 odd minutes with me talking and the rest of the time answering your questions specifically. There's a QR code going to appear when I leave here. And thank you for your attention. I'll see you on Monday.